So there are two pieces to why I asked for this meeting, and I thank you so much for being able to attend. The first piece is our Black Lives Matter mural. After speaking with a few people and really taking a look at the road, I'm feeling like it may not be the best placement, and I have concerns around that. And so I had two suggestions, and the Equity and Inclusion Committee has not been able to meet over this. I have had conversations with a couple of them, and I know that a couple of them are able to attend. I see Jamie's here and Anna's here. So I had two thoughts. We could either shoot for Kimball Hill, which feels like it comes with a lot of complications that might take away from what we're trying to do. And then I had a second thought that was going in a different direction, but may actually be more impactful, and that is to order a banner for Town Hall and to hang a banner from the second story of Town Hall that proclaims Black Lives Matter. I've seen this it's actually been, it was a few years ago that I saw this in Massachusetts, and I'm trying to remember specifically what town I saw it in. But when we're thinking of government speech, to have it on a government building is very clear that that's coming from government speech. So is a road, but it's also, I think, more visible and maybe has a bit more of an impact. So I wanted to just bring those ideas to you before we keep going down this road, so to speak, because I would like to see this keep moving forward. I think it's important that we're acting on this, and it would put us way behind not to have this discussion at this point. And then I also had another matter to bring to you, so it felt fitting. Yeah, Josh.
I thought about this as well, actually, and I called Lisa the morning after our last meeting because I thought, the co-op would be potentially a convenient place to do it, but I don't think it's making the statement. If we're going to make the statement, we should make it in a more real way. The other place that I thought about for a road is in front of the school. Yeah, it's a road that's in good condition. It's not the most traveled road in town, but it's certainly one of them. And I also thought, it's a really good message to send to our youth. And so I stopped and looked, and at first I was thinking maybe in front of the horseshoe. But I think it's not quite enough room. But there's plenty of room. There's two good wide lanes, and you could easily do it in one of the lanes, either right adjacent to the school building or adjacent to the soccer field. And you could even, if you chose to, you could do it facing sort of, one going one way and one going the other way. I don't know whether we would have concerns from any neighbors, and I don't know how that fits into the discussion. I think I agree with you on Kimball Hill. I just worry that like you said, it would take from the sort of the mission. So I think the school would be a nice place to do it. I think it would be a meaningful statement for kids. I think a lot of parents would see it, and it would create conversation, and it could even be sort of there could be an educational component to it, however they chose there to be, if they chose. So that would be probably my feeling. I don't dislike the idea of the banner either. I hadn't thought about that. I do wonder, I almost feel like that is a little more complicated as far as signage is concerned, because if it's on a building, and I know it would be a banner. I don't know. I'm not sure which one makes more sense, but I think the school might be a pretty cool place to do it.
I wonder, could we divert traffic through the horseshoe? How would we?
That's what I thought of first. But the other thing we can do is you presumably only be doing it for, regardless of how big you did it, you could do it in one lane at a time. I mean, if it needed to be a two-part process, you could do it. You could do one lane, divert, just have one direction and then the other. And we obviously have to pick the timing well, but, a Sunday morning, for example, things are pretty sleepy down there till 10:30, 11 o'clock, So.
Okay, that's an interesting suggestion.
It's a big open slate, and again, the road was repaved a year or two ago, so it's in really nice condition. And
yeah, that was one of my, as I was looking at the co-op road, I kept thinking about those potholes coming back, and I don't want it to be something that could be viewed as almost disrespectful. If we pick this road that's known for potholes, and then they start to develop and it looks really pocked. The other thing about a banner that appealed to me is it's harder to vandalize. And I know we don't, I know we don't want to think that would happen, and yet we're responding to an incident that was vandalizing of the road. So
yeah, I also thought about that as well as far as the school is concerned, and I think I may be being overly optimistic in my thinking about this, but I feel like being in front of a school would be a place which would discourage the likelihood of that. Not that it couldn't and might not happen, but I just think, you'd have to be pretty angry to vandalize something in front of a school. And of course, that's what vandalism is about. So that's what it is. The other thing I don't know, I'm certainly aware that there's a security system at the school. Maybe one outdoor camera could be redirected or something, and then that would minimize that possibility as well. I don't know, just a thought.
Okay.
I break in to say, Josh, there are a lot of cameras. And some of them do go to the edge of the property, and I bet it wouldn't be a big deal to even install one more.
Yeah, I mean, and I also think that even if there isn't one facing that direction, people are aware that schools are places where there are cameras. So I just think all around it might minimize the possibility. But
yeah, I was surprised that our post office doesn't have cameras, and surprised that a person was brazen enough to do what they did in front of the post office.
Right.
And maybe they do now, like maybe they've rectified that. But I actually shouldn't say that I'm surprised that they don't have them. I'm surprised they may. They just, if they do, they weren't far enough for what happened there. So I guess, we already have the motion. It's already passed. It was pretty, I don't remember. Was it specific to a specific road, Karen? Did we specify, or did we?
I think it was. Yeah.
It was. Yep.
All right.
So I'm happy to make a follow-up motion on that if you want to.
I really like that idea, and I think it had come up in the beginning, and we had been concerned about it being a well-traveled enough road, and I don't want to get too caught up in perfectionism here. Like I want it to be good, but I don't want to bog it down in perfectionism. So I think that the school is a great idea. I think that it's super inclusive, and that we probably could split it into two parts or figure a way to divert traffic through that horseshoe, and that gives us a good chunk of room.
There's not really, I paced it out at the horseshoe, and I think, and I don't know the scale of the letters, I don't think it would fit right across from
think so?
It's a little tight. I can't even remember exactly what I paced, but that's what I thought. And I went and walked it, and I thought, I'm guessing, to spell out the whole thing is pretty substantial. But think the visibility of next to the soccer field or in front of the school, it's sort of wide open territory there. So I think there's plenty of room to think about it.
Yeah. One thing Jamie had brought up is that it would be the nice piece of Kimball Hill is that there's an aerial view, that we have second stories and people can see it from above. And I think that we can still capture it with drones and that it's, as you're driving over it, you see it. It's very evident.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other clear advantage of Kimball Hill would be that it's visible from Route 5, but I do worry that there's just a lot of property owners and a lot of, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I feel like either in front of the school or a banner should really be the direction we go in. So I guess I'm curious, like if you feel strongly about the school, I'm comfortable with that and appreciate the thinking that went into that.
I think it's a good spot for it, but I'm happy to defer to the equity and inclusion group. I mean, if we can keep things moving, maybe look at a design for there and make sure it fits. I don't know exactly how that works. I mean, I'm pretty confident it could fit.
Yeah, the designer seemed to feel that he could scale it to whatever we chose.
Yeah.
So whatever area we chose, he can figure out how to make it work.
Okay, go ahead.
So, Liz, would you mute? I'm pretty sure it's coming from you, Liz. Thank you. All right, then do you want to?
So do you want a motion to that effect, or do you want to explore the motion?
I think let's keep the ball rolling, and should I find that we have real hiccups, I can bring it back to our next meeting. But I think to keep the ball rolling is important because there's so many moving pieces in it. Oh.
Yeah. So I can't remember exactly. Karen, I think you were trying to say something? No.
No, I was just going to ask about the banner. If it were on Town Hall, would you put it on the side of the building, Laura, or out front?
So I think if we did it on Town Hall, it would need to be on the front. It would be, and as I kind of like slow drove past it over the past couple of days.
Okay.
And I mean, it would be visible. I don't know if we're having any more tree work done
in
the near future, but it would be very visible, and it would make quite a statement to have it over the main entrance of our town hall. I think that it would be very impactful. And there are many considerations with that as well. So I don't want to throw a huge wrench in and change things midstream. I was just trying to think of things aside from the Co-op Road or Carroll Brown Way.
Well, I'll make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that we approve citing a Black Lives Matter mural painted on Westminster Road in front of the school. So that's the motion. And then I would just say, if for some reason that doesn't make sense, like you said, Laura, if you come back next week and say that isn't going to work for whatever reason, then we think further about it.
Okay. All right.
So your motion's done, Josh?
My motion is done.
I'll second that. I'm fine. I think the school is a great spot for it for lots of different reasons. I think if there's an area in everybody's life where they're open, it's with their kids, and I think that spot is kind of,
yeah.
I think that not only speaks to the message that's trying to be sent, but I think it offers an opportunity for carrying that message forward with possibly less problems because people are more open in that way in their life. And maybe I'm naive that way, but that's the way it feels to me. So.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I just want to add that this is really hard work that we're doing, and it gets uncomfortable at times. And I feel like we've all been, not just in this work, stretched in unusual ways, but also through COVID. We've all experienced enormous amounts of stress, and we're going to make mistakes in what we're doing here. It's going to be imperfect at times. And I think that we all need to exercise forgiveness and be gentle with ourselves and each other. And I really appreciate that, as difficult as this has been at moments, the growth that we as a board and as a town have shown through this. So I want to thank you all for that.
Yep.
And thank
Any
you.
further discussion? Any further discussion?
Thank
Great.
you. That sounds great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. It has been moved and passed to paint Black Lives Matter on, yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just
okay.
going to follow up, and I think we needed we talked about one of the reasons we were going to have a meeting this week is because we need to approve something to be able to paint on the road. Is that right?
So I will bring that next week.
Okay.
That's something that Montpelier is going through. It's not necessary, but it's probably good for us to have a painting policy. So I will bring that to you next week, and hopefully we'll be able to approve that, and that's just another piece of it. But all of the other work, I feel like we can do in the meanwhile.
Sounds good.
Okay.
A question. At one point in all of this process, Mike, our representative, Morwicki, offered to do some research on all of this. Was that the stuff that you brought to us, Laura, last week about government?
Yeah, he ended up pointing me in a direction, and I ended up doing the research. But
Okay.
he gave me really good direction. So he connected me with Connor Casey of Montpelier, and Montpelier has gone through a very similar activity, and they've found the pitfalls of it, which is good for us because now we know where the pitfalls are. So, and that's a piece of the painting policy. So.
Were there anything?
So we are doing it from government speech, and that's an important piece. And putting in the painting policy is an important piece. They kind of did it backwards. So they and it's okay. I mean, it'll all work out, but
if we can do it forwards, that would be better.
So much better. Yes, it's so much better to learn from from other people's adventures. All right. Well, I'm really glad that motion has passed. Thank you very much. And so we need to have an executive session. And I don't have the title V.S.A. 3.
I'll make a motion that we enter executive session based on V.S.A. Title 313 for the purpose of discussion of employment personnel.
Okay. And I would like to, with the select board's approval, invite Ann Beekman in. She has some information to share, and then and she's just purely coming in to share information.
And we would also be inviting Karen, presumably?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
So moved.
And seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye. So do you want to comment on that session, Laura, or just to say that no decision was?
No decision was made. Yeah, I think we'll just leave it at no decision was made, and we might reflect on on some of the conversations we had in our next meeting. So,
And I'll make a motion to adjourn.
and I will second that motion. And it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
We're all in favor.
We're all in favor. So, all right.
Thank
Good night,
you.
all. Thank
All right.
you.
The
All right. Bye.